short version.
There's a shadow hanging sit down the loved ones young has now grown old.
Roberto Muller, or in katakana would be Mura Roberto. And I came to Japan for 3 months for the first time because I came here without much money, so I thought maybe I can walk or hitchhike if I need to, because I think the train system is a little expensive for 3 months. And so I stayed in Tokyo for 2 weeks and walked around and slept in parks in my tent, which was very interesting, and met many wonderful people and occasionally homeless people in Tokyo, which was very interesting to see something hidden from most tourists. And then walked for a week down towards Fujisan, and finally my legs were tired, so I decided to use my thumb instead. I got to ride from Gotemba, which is near Fujisan, to Nagoya with 2 very wonderful young men who work with a non-profit organization with homeless in Nagoya. And so I stayed with them for a few days. And then a friend of theirs gave me a ride to Osaka. And since then I've been hitchhiking and using the trains to travel to visit members of the Never Again campaign, or NAC, which educates on the effects of the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Lots of good food. The Japanese people have been very generous and always giving me gifts, either sometimes money. One woman blew my mind in Tokyo, and we were talking together in a park, and she enjoyed the conversation, so she asked me if I needed any money, and I said, no, I have a little, but it's okay. I think this is the beginning of the trip, so I'm not too worried. But she was concerned, so she very secretly, with a closed hand, snuck me some money. I think, what is this for? And I opened it, and she gave me 10,000 yen. And I think, what? That's too much. But she said, no, please take it. So yeah, it's been fun, and hopefully everything will be safe. Now it is rainy season, so maybe camping is not so easy. So I will have to rely on the generosity of friends to help me be safe, which I think is a good education for me. So a month after the earthquake in Tohoku, so April 13th, and at that time it was very exciting because American media exploited the fear surrounding the situation with Fukushima Daiichi, and I believe was trying to, as usual, was trying to make the most of any bad situation to have people addicted to the television screen. And so I was traveling in California when the earthquake happened, and happened to be watching TV and it seemed like the apocalypse in Japan, and everyone was dying and the world was ending, which was not true. And so afterwards I researched maybe on the United Nations website, and it seemed like Tokyo and south of Tokyo would be fine. And hopefully there would not be another earthquake along the way. But I think it's been very fun and very safe. I feel probably more safe in Japan, and also so much love as well, but sometimes more private and family-oriented love, whereas I feel in Japan, as a complete stranger, so many people treat me with the same respect that they have for their family. So yeah, so I think for me, maybe I learned to let go and to trust many people. I was very impressed with Kamakura, which is really beautiful community of shrines right by the ocean, and these wonderful hills surrounding the sea. And so there was a fantastic hiking course that I walked on for maybe 3 hours, wandering around the city in between shrines, up into the hills, and then coming down again. And as I was hiking, there had to be maybe 600 or 700 elementary school students on the trail. So it was like amusement park, but very wonderful. And so everywhere I go, I keep running into elementary school and middle school and high school students, and they always come up to me with so much excitement to see this strange foreigner with a big backpack and a beard, and who is this weird person? And so, especially in Hiroshima, as you were saying, I hung out in the Peace Park, and every day there are many school groups that go to study the atomic bomb, and I think also maybe to meet foreigners in the park and to ask or to conduct an interview. So every day I would sit down and they would run up to me and ask me questions, and I felt very comforted by the feeling of so much youthful energy and healthfulness in the park, especially in a place that at one point immediately after the bomb was dropped was just devoid of life. And so to feel so much life and beautiful trees and children and everyone sharing together, for me was so inspirational. And so other places along the way, ended up in Hakone, which was really beautiful, and went hiking there. And then Nagoya, which was great. Playing softball, and with my friends we made paella, like Spanish paella with the kai. In English I don't know what it's called, but I think it's like a mussel or clam, small clam. And made gyoza, which was very fun. My friend Mui and I probably made maybe 20 or 30 gyoza about this big, so they were like Spanish empanadas. And we maybe ate 3 of them and then realized we had too much food. And from there in Osaka, was very intrigued by, I forget the name of it, but it's a very big neighborhood where many homeless live, and there used to be a homeless village. So got to visit Sandashi in Hyogo Prefecture, to visit a friend of my mother's who met her back in 1985 in Costa Rica. And so it was kind of been the person who's connected me to everyone south of Osaka involved with the Never Again campaign. And so I got to stay with her and her husband especially, who spoke very good English because he lived in Singapore for a long time. And so we went fishing together in the Japanese Sea and failed completely and caught nothing. But returned home and bought fish at the supermarket. So we had a successful day. And then from there I traveled to Himeji and visited the very old castle, and I was delighted with the smell inside of the castle, with the very old wood that reminded me of my house in New York, which is very old and the same comfort. And yeah, got to visit Fukuyama and meet a friend of a friend who's working with the JET English teaching program. And she lent me her bicycle, and so I spent a day biking down to a small town called Tomonoura, and then to some neighboring islands. And on a beach, met some young Japanese in their 20s who were celebrating Bob Marley's death. And so they had barbecue and reggae music on the beach. And so I feel like every time I travel, each new place, there's a wonderful situation where for some reason I'm brought together with someone and they connect me to another person, and so it feels like a chain reaction. And so from Hiroshima, spent about a week there staying with a friend, Hirano-san, and her husband, and got to visit a couple of sites, the Hiroshima Atomic Bomb Memorial Museum, which was very intense, especially as an American, having learned a different perspective on history through government-endorsed history textbooks. So for me it was very fulfilling to feel a more complete perspective on the war. And to be in the company while seeing these images and artifacts of people involved in educating about never wanting the same event to happen again, I think really made it feel present, and that it's not a situation that happened, is finished, and will never happen again, but that there still is such a great possibility of accidents or negligence in terms of nuclear reactors, or just arrogance in terms of using a bomb. I think for me, traveling and exploring is definitely an exploration of contradictions in life. And in the end, just trying to have a good time and find peace in each moment and compromise in each moment. So yeah, traveling is a good education. So for me, that's a very good lesson in terms of slowing life down and living in the moment. And really feeling peace. And I think for me, peace is something that you cannot accumulate. It is not something you work towards. I think it is in each moment you have a choice to live with peace and to be content with what you have. Everyone in my family, in one way or another, has been involved in very challenging war situations. My grandfather was in World War II and experienced the division between French and German, feeling his family torn apart, cousins on one side of the frontier, he and his family, or his intimate, immediate family on another side. And so he lived through contradictions of war, of nationalities, of borders, and so he ended up devoting his life to working for a more universal, global human relationship or community. And so for him, I think he really devoted his life to trying to find peace with himself, and through that process brought peace to so many people, and really inspired so many people to search in themselves also for that deeper meaning and love. And so with my mother also, she experienced very intense war working in refugee camps down in Central America in the early 1980s. And my stepfather, James, who raised me, was in Vietnam as an American cadet, as a Green Beret, and so he also came back from a very horrifying experience. And so for me, growing up as a kid, I have all of these wonderful role models who I love, who really went through tough times, always telling me that in the end, these wars and reactions with anger just don't achieve anything. So in terms of your question for the future, or what world do I envision, like a better world for tomorrow, I feel like really the world as it is right now is fantastic and perfect, and could never be any better, because I think really any change that needs to happen is with each person, in terms of each person finding a sense of trust with his or herself.